I wanna, thank you. Call me, if you have problems, call me back, okay? If not, if you're able to log in, okay, don't worry. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And Kale sit down, and Charlie's holding hands on the table. You can see, you can see the light and turned bright red. And everybody's very quiet and sitting and looking around.
But order made, whatever, he was responsible for getting them.
Charlie, he's just chilled back and he got down on his knees. And put his hands together and says, Charlie, I just realized what I've done. Please forgive me. You've got this whole committee room of all the doctors, hospitals, and everybody else is in this thing with Bill. Those flies and that. From what part? Yeah. But at least he forgave me. He just
Yes.
realized what he did. Because he's the type of guy that he could have just. He's actually, I thought it was interesting this week, is right, spark is right, this PLK's has always been, is that you did about 2 weeks ago, there was a letter to the editor, an editorial, and it was actually, I thought, man, this is PLK's, and I agree with what he's saying and stuff. The Republican Party essentially.
I really like Craig. Gillette.
Like that Simpson.
Yeah, I think so. Spelling was never my forte. That's just a hang on with my teacher. Right, well, I try to get it right, so. In fact, you're doing after this. Spelling was the only subject I was I would write words on index cards and stick them in the pockets. And I was using manual because I was in the printer class. And so I would stick my hands in the pockets and wait for the teacher to ring.
It's okay. I learned one of the ways you have difficulty spelling, dysgraphia or whatever you want to call it. So there's this one kid who's.
We could have fit in the room that, what the left is going to have for the tenants, in the room that I really wanted to be in. So the original Supreme Court room, you could see it on the tour. That's an amazing room. And it's where, in that room, is where they signed, that women could vote and all that kind of stuff. So it's a historic registry. Room. Anyhow, it was 2 stories tall, kind of a gallery, and then the main floor. Over the years, they had taken out the gallery and put a floor in there, so the legislative service office, there used to be a second service office.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Looks like we have one person connected. I was hoping that you would be able to say hello. You can use the chat. Use the chat, the line over on the right-hand side.
When you screw up bad enough that they have.
The program is set to start in about 20 minutes. So I logged in early just to see if we were everything connected correctly. Hopefully we do.
This is not a good day.
It would make me feel a lot better if whoever's connected could give me a clue in the chat that you can see and hear okay. Now I see we have 2 people here with us. You could use the chat to give me a heads up and let me know you're there. If you're able to hear okay and see okay. You do.
Can you give it a picture?
Yeah.
I always figured that, from her so on until I retired, is that I was in a position, where the governor's community was celebrating my being in office all around town. In the hallway, or there was Hi John, how you doing? I didn't know if that was good or bad. When you're talking about being Catholic, Sullivan was Catholic, and we ended up being that case governor, he was the ambassador to Ireland.
Her mother named
And I've always marveled, that it was a way that the Democrats and the oil industry kind of pulled together and got him elected as governor because he was an oil man.
Gail, thanks for letting me know that you're on. Could you give me an indication as to whether you're hearing me okay?
And you're doing all the prevention stuff for AIDS. And so we had to develop programs, you know, for the gay community. In Frontier Days, they produced a bunch of stickers to put in all the bathrooms in Cheyenne about wearing condoms and all these things. The sticker, this steamboat, this thing with cowboy on it.
I gave
It was a condom.
Mhm.
We found out her governor.
Gail said she is connected. So
He was taller than
Gail,
everything else
Amba?
we did. That one.
That's not what I'm used to. So she plays on that. And she's very
Jackson.
Gail, I'm going to connect, change the microphone and the camera to the one we're using in the presentation. And if you could give me a chat response to let me know that that's working okay. All right, I'm going to change the camera and the microphone now.
So you're the official photographer?
Well, I don't know if I'm official or not, but
You seem to be official.
well, I put a on my neck.
Hey now.
There you
I
go.
think that you guys have
I can pretend to be
trouble
official.
Okay.
figuring out
There
where
you
you're
go.
gonna go to come down.
One's a lady, right there at the door.
Okay, we've changed over to the other mic and
Well,
camera.
there's a bunch of volunteer ladies that do all these tours and stuff, and they love doing it.
Diane, excuse me,
Yes.
could you say something as if you were speaking to the crowd for a mic check?
Good morning. How is everyone today?
One more time.
Good morning. How is everyone today?
Thank you.
It's the teacher voice.
We're good.
Okay, I'm going to mute the microphone now, just so we don't have a whole bunch of conversation going on, but we should be back by 1:30 when the governor arrives.
Blackmail.
Mentors are the oldsters of the group. They're a half hour, 45 minutes shot, because they would get going and just keep going. But it was totally fascinating, you know, because they basically reminisced, you know, it wasn't like rah rah to the future, but it was all that they had going on.
You had,
Yes.
this is one of the classics.
When I,
The Walt Ballard.
I didn't meet him.
Walt was one of the first black guys to serve from the United States to serve on the international.
Because it's not in
His wife was she just had full of fun. And so was he. He was a dentist.
And
Then he was a
the
big
lopsided hearing.
Dr. Rowley was one of
Did
my.
your doctor tell you anything?
But they still.
The
Did
sound.
it survive?
Walt's up there talking all at once.
He's boring you out.
Yes.
That's good.
That's right.
So
Not that you're boring.
I'm actually
Woman next to him.
anxious for that.
Right. We found here, I know somebody. My daughter, in a bad position, somebody.
His hand on the show was like a
Buddy, good afternoon. Getting an Arby's?
Best I could do on the service.
Well, I took a load of stuff over to Al's and then I went on down to the new Culver's. Walked in and had my vest on. The gal at the counter said, "Oh, are you out there at the Archer?" Yeah. So I told her the story of maybe we'll have somebody at Archer.
It's in the paper this morning.
I saw that.
You might want to move this a little bit, or else you're on the phone, or I won't see.
And they have in their, county museum and stuff, they have a whole section about the history of the city of Pueblo. And then there were We're also doing.
And there's no.
No.
Two so far.
No, I'm
One in
fine.
Hewlett and one here in Cheyenne.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
You said Gary.
Gary, it's not here.
So we always go
there. Gary's been a
Sure.
hindrance to me.
Great. Would you like me? Right there? Yes.
I know. Okay, and so.
It is Wyoming, yeah, that's exactly. Oh,
We're all caged, so I get it, 40%.
yeah.
You want me to call him? You want Robin? You want me to call him?
Would you please?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's plenty of parking out there, so you can't use that as an excuse.
Support and strap workshop unread. PayPal, Robert Joe, Manning, Joe, mailboxes, mailboxes. Inbox, 14 messages, selected, messages, unread, pay. Pound unread, invoice 16,000 each unread, pay. Pound unread, pay. Pound unread, Petco, 10% off unread, white search field, inbox, heading. Messages, unread, written trust third credit union, signatory, trust unread, house picture, page 213.
Turn on do not disturb.
Do not disturb is now on.
He's waiting on the plaques. Guys,
Thank you for that.
look, if you, I'll give you my number. Any questions?
Okay, will do.
Gary Rogers was supposed to go.
See if they-
Some people were
Gary's
just
got the flags.
He's not
Yeah.
answering, Gary,
Gary
Robin.
whatever to do.
I texted him and he didn't answer the phone.
So you might be driving.
Last I saw them, they were
Okay.
gonna take stuff to Alps. I went to Alps and they hadn't been there yet. Okay, and I was lunch.
Is that trouble?
Gary Rutherford. He's supposed to be here with the plaques to present.
We should have given them to you.
I know.
Yeah.
But he said, oh, I've got it handled.
I served on the board of directors.
But don't give them to John, you might have done it.
Oh, really?
I served on the.
You might have, we can, I guess,
You can always just do a
I guess we
handshake
can start
and just.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I think she goes,
We're gonna go ahead and start and you take all the time you want. So we can wait on the plaques. And, yes, yes,
Kind of ad lib.
yes. Welcome Lions and others. And I want to welcome you to the People's House. And that's what our governor calls it, and it's caught on. And today, we are very privileged to have Governor Mark Gordon, and he's a rancher, aren't you?
I am.
Yep. And he's going to give us some words of wisdom. And also, we are very privileged to have International Director Diane Pitts from South Carolina. And she and Governor Gordon are going to assist me in recognizing 8 clubs that have reached 100 years. So I would like to turn this over to Governor Gordon now.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you should be careful when you say, give a politician more time to talk. I see you. No, thanks so much. And yeah, I thought what I'd do is just kind of give you a little bit of maybe a history of this place, a little bit of what's going on in Wyoming. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you. It is so wonderful to welcome you here. This is just a wonderful place. So, and I was thinking, I was going to ask you, but I'm thinking that Mike Enzi was a Lion.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, because I'm a Rotarian myself, but I remember Mike said exactly that. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry."
We have an application for Lion.
But Mike was a dear friend, and I think the spirit of Mike is what always kind of gave me the impression of what Lions were. Mike was always about the service and community, making sure people had a better chance, and really thinking about things like Job Corps in Riverton, which he helped build, and all of that. So it is really nice to have you here. This room, this is, I think, one of the very first sort of public functions that this room has served. And when they renovated the Capitol, you may know that this is underneath the old Hirschler building. And I was just about to ask you if that was Ed and that was Casey, or which was which. But when they wanted to have a good view of the Capitol from Capitol Avenue on the north side, and so they took out the center portion of the Hirschler building, and that opened up a little bit of an opportunity here. You may remember this was kind of a cafeteria type of thing in the day. So upstairs you have the Secretary of State, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the Auditor, and the Treasurer on this side, and several offices over here, including legislative services. The main Capitol, had gone for several years without really being refurbished. And I came down as treasurer Joe Meyer was a very good friend. Joe had passed, and I was fortunate enough to be appointed as treasurer. So I came down in 2012, and that was about a year and a half before they started the renovation of the Capitol. So I got to live in the old Capitol for a little bit, and I always tell the story that the ladies' room in the new Capitol is my old office. I don't really know if I endeared anybody to myself, but anyway, there it is. So, but it is absolutely beautiful. And as you go through it, I think you'll have an opportunity to really savor some of the things that were kind of discovered. And there's some safes on the way. Maybe you've seen them as you've come through that have beautiful artwork on them. Those were painted institutional green. And when they started stripping the paint off, and you'll hear the story from Rihanna, they found the artwork underneath. And one mistake I made, I was cantankerous as a treasurer about how much money was being spent on the renovation. And I did make one mistake. And that mistake was, you'll see it in the territorial chamber, which is now one of the legislative rooms, but it also served as the Supreme Court up until about 1930. It's remarkable because that's where our Constitution was signed, and our Constitution had two firsts. Most of our Constitution, when it comes to the legislature, was taken from Montana, and most of the Constitution, when it came to the executive branch, came from Idaho. But there were two firsts, and one of them, of course, was we were the first to, and my wife always tells me this, it's not grant, because we always had the right to recognize the right of women to vote. And so we're the oldest continuous government in the world, beat the 19th Amendment by 50 years. And actually also, we're most proud about this, beat New Zealand by about 6 months. So we're very proud of that. But the other thing that really is remarkable and will be important this year was the fact that Wyoming was the first constitution to ever recognize first in time, first in right for water law. And as we think about the conditions that we have across the West, particularly here in Wyoming and on the Colorado, that first in time, first in right water law is really becoming an essential component of how we distribute and own the water, because otherwise we wouldn't really have as good a footprint on how to deal with it. So I think you'll really enjoy your tour of the Capitol. I'm going to try to stick around because I'd love to show you the ceremonial conference room, which is where bills get signed. There's a little bit of history in there. I come from Johnson County. Johnson County, as you may know, and Cheyenne have not always been absolutely aligned. 2 years after our Constitution was signed, 1892, even though the Constitution had a provision that no private armies would ever be raised in Wyoming, there was an army raised out of Texas that went up. We call it the invading army. Others may call it the expedition, but it came up to KC, where I grew up, and there were 2 trappers and 2 supposed rustlers, alleged rustlers, there in the cabin, and the 2 trappers came out in the morning for water. They got gathered up by the army, which had surrounded them, the invaders, and then Nick Ray came out. They shot him on sight. Nate Champion, and I always think this is amazing. It speaks a lot to Wyoming perseverance. So Nate Champion, this all happened first thing in the morning in April. And Nate Champion came out and pulled Nick back into the cabin, but most of the day he spent firing back at the 45 or so people that were shooting at his cabin. And it was only after the cabin was burned to the ground that he actually came out. And he wrote a diary the whole time. And he was saying what was going on, who he recognized, who was out there, and so on and so forth. And his final entry goes something like, boys, I'm about to make a break for it. It's getting mighty lonesome. And that's as far as he got. But it's kind of fun because that all happened 130 years ago. 150 years ago, Yellowstone Park was created. 150 years ago, the stock growers were established. 100 years ago, you had Lions clubs in Wyoming getting established. 100 years ago, you have Wyodak Mine in Gillette that's first opened. So there's a tremendous amount of history that happens right around those dates in our history. And so it's really a great honor for me. I'm the first governor from Johnson County to be duly elected to this position. So it took 132 years or so before anybody wanted anybody from Johnson County to serve in this position. But I'm proud to do it. There was one other. And he followed Nellie Taylor, he followed Nellie Taylor Ross's husband, who was governor. He was Secretary of State, and when Nellie Taylor Ross's husband died, he was promoted in November, but Nellie Taylor Ross beat him in that next election. And so Nellie Taylor Ross is also the first governor in the country, and there's a portrait of her in our office. So I hope you have a chance to see that. Wyoming really is at a remarkable juncture. I'm very proud to say that Wyoming came through the last several years, which it seems like a century, that we went through. But we came through it better than almost every other. In fact, I would say we came through better than other states. I have other governor friends who will compare notes and say one thing or another, but here are some of the statistics that I think are really important. One is that we were one of 2 states that did not have major destructive violence. People had a chance to register their opinions. That's the American way. You know, it is important that we always allow for free speech, and we did. There were a number of protests, both pro and con, whatever we were doing. I certainly heard a lot from various people. I grew up on a ranch, and as long as people weren't saying things, I always thought that meant it was a good thing. And people would always tell you when you were doing something wrong, and we heard a lot about that. But here's the thing: nobody got cross-wired during that whole time, and there's some hard-held views and lots of different opinions about that. But in the end, we also came through with the most kids in school in person for the longest period of any school system in the country. We only had one school that really had to shut down in the 2021 season, and it only had to do it for a couple of weeks. And what's exciting about that is that kids and teachers alike and parents and others were dedicated to making sure that our kids could stay in school. And it's reflected itself that our kids have come through with better scores, better academic progress than many of pretty much any other school system in the country. So I'm always proud to talk about that when I get together with other governors. I do think that Wyoming, because of our open spaces, because of our wonderful mountains, just phenomenal assets. Everything from Pine Bluffs, which has that remarkable, treasure of a war memorial, all the way up on the eastern flank, some of the prettiest country. That's the old trail that people would get off the railroad here in Hell on Wheels, named Cheyenne eventually, get on in the stagecoach and ride and head up into the gold fields of the Black Hills going along this eastern things. And as a former treasurer of our counties, I'm always pretty proud to say that, you have 7, 14, and 21 as you go up. You have Goshen, Niobrara, and Weston, 7, 14, and 21 counties. So people were thinking about money and making sure that things were good. As you go out to the west, of course, Yellowstone Park, 150th year. The last several years, it's had a remarkable, really overflowing. We actually has had about 4 years of record numbers of tourists coming. The biggest year was the year of the eclipse. Everybody was in Yellowstone. That was followed closely on by pandemic year 1 and then pandemic year 2. And this year, we're really looking for it to be another piece. Wyoming's economy, as you know, probably suffered pretty dramatically during the pandemic. A lot of people stopped traveling. There was a lot less usage of oil and gas, which are mainstays. There was a real push to try to get rid of coal. All of those things were kind of tough on our economy. We lost about a third of our revenue in 2020, and it required us to really knock down our expectations for the budget. But we are a frugal state, and we're able. All the departments responded. Everybody understood what the circumstances were. It was not easy by any scope of the imagination, but we were able to manage through that. This last year, we saw our budget work on through 2021. There has been some recovery. There's more that needs to come. I'm particularly concerned about, I'll talk about economic diversification, but I am particularly concerned about what we do with our medical facilities and making sure that we can provide accessible and affordable health care. That's an essential piece. I think some of the things that we have not worked as hard as we could on mental health. We have a very high suicide rate that we need to address. We need to have a component of that we're already working on through the National Guard, because there's so many of our veterans and so many of our returning soldiers that are still struggling with moral injury that they may have acquired, PTSD, any of the other ailments. And so we really like to move into that. Wanting to make sure that we do more for accessibility, making it, in fact, we're doing a wayfinding project here for the capital to make it much more easy for people that are visually impaired and otherwise to be able to understand this place, the history of it, and to really get a sense of it. So we are working on those suites. I'm very concerned about what we can do about affordable housing, and that's not just for low income. That's also for medium housing that people can get into. We've obviously got a big concern about Wyoming being such a great place and being so open, having great hunting, fishing, and so on. We have so many people coming to our state. And I'm not going to make it a political statement, but there are a lot of people moving to this part of the country because of conservative values and because we're really dedicated to freedom. So that unfortunately has raised everybody's cost of housing, and that was great as long as you didn't have the assessor. The assessor now is coming back and saying, well, the average price of homes has gone up pretty substantially. That means taxes are going up, and we're going to need to address those things as we look into the future. I think it's really important for our economy. Our economy, I believe, is really poised to be in a great shape. We obviously have all the energy in the world. We have renewables, we have solar, wind, we have lots of coal, and Wyoming is for your benefit, Wyoming was the first state in the country to say we can be carbon negative, and we'll do that by doing great things with coal. We are actually going to use carbon capture and sequestration and be able to actually take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and keep our legacy industries and the jobs that are associated with them viable. We've also worked hard on making sure that we can bring a new generation of nuclear power online safely, and our schools are very much dedicated to that. In agriculture, there's just great opportunities now with the opportunity for ag to be engaged in solving some of the climate issues, doing carbon sequestration. Years ago, when I worked for Apache Corporation, which was an oil company, I ran a couple of ranches for them, and one of the things we were able to do was to sell carbon credits, which really amounted to about $80,000 of income just over the practices that we were already doing, but just being able to demonstrate that we were actually doing a good job of sequestering carbon. So I think agriculture is poised to have a great rejuvenation here, and then we've seen a real uptick in tourism and have an opportunity to work on that. So all of that is good. And then I'll leave you just with where we're going to be on education. Post-secondary education, we have a university, as you know. We have many community colleges. Our community colleges are really where the rubber meets the road. And I've asked that we bring both the community colleges and university closer together so that again, it's not so one is running the other. It is really a partnership, and that's what we're calling the Wyoming Innovation Partnership. And it's really designed about as jobs change, as people want to find new careers, that they can get access in their communities. If they have a spouse that already has a job somewhere, they don't have to relocate to Laramie. They can get access to the university's aspects right there. Plus, we want to be able to push our research, which we really have some of the best research on geology anywhere, and be able to push that out to our community colleges so that each of them can benefit from a great research program at the university. So that's the Wyoming Innovation Partnership. And then lastly, what I think is really most important for our future is making sure our kids have a good education. K-12 system in Wyoming, constitutionally guaranteed to provide near equal educational opportunity for every kid in Wyoming as it can. And for a while here, we've been arguing about what it costs. That's an important consideration, and we will consider it. But really what it needs to start with is, what is it our parents want our kids to learn? What is it that our communities need our kids to be able to understand? What is it our industries are looking for, so that we can come together at a local level, starting at the ground roots, and talk about what is the role of education in Wyoming and how it will be pursued. And so that process is going on now. It's called the RIDE, reimagining and innovating the delivery of education. And we've had over 7,000 respondents already. We're just announcing today listening sessions all around the state. And the people that are going to be listening to this are not consultants. They're not professionals, and they're not politicians. They're people who care deeply about education, aren't affiliated with necessarily any school system, and don't come with any agenda. They're just supposed to put together what they hear around the state, and then we'll have larger conversation that will involve all those other groups. So I think if we start with that, and you make Wyoming the best place to educate your kids, that's going to make the families want to move back to Wyoming. That's going to want to make them stay here, but care about their main streets, and we'll be well underway. So, did I do all right? You were saying just keep going.
Yeah, I think you're stuck to
The plaques are here, Robin.
Okay, well, you could have said plaques are here.
I didn't want to interrupt. I'd have gotten in trouble.
Thank you very, very much. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm also going to be here for a little bit, so if that's easier.
There's
Yes.
another 100. Sublette County turns 100 this year.
There,
Sublet,
Sublette County turns 100 this year.
my gosh.
So that's
Wow.
important. I'm the coordinator for the county system.
Well, we love Sublette County. It is, I think that, so between Sublette County, Lincoln County, and Teton County, that may have changed. They're all right with each other. Teton County is the county that has the richest population in the country. Sublette County, at least up until very recently, was the richest county in the nation. And if I remember, Lincoln was about the smallest population income county. So you had all three right there. That is good to know. Thanks.
Thought I'd share. I have pins if
I
anything.
have a question for you, and not to put you on the spot, it's just that as service clubs, in your vision of where the state is going and stuff, do you see things that we as service clubs could be doing to help us? I mean, we have
You
our
bet.
vision, and so on, but from your office, do you see things that service clubs could be helping with?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a Rotarian, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and I'm committed to doing whatever we can to, with our mission. Lions obviously visually impaired, and accessibility is absolutely essential. I think as you look at this last couple of weeks, then VFW, other service organizations, and they all have an incredible purpose. And I think if there's ways that we can work with service clubs to help make that mission go farther, I would like to do that. One of the things that I'm really glad to see as I get around the state is I'm starting to see more and more young professionals that are starting to join and get involved in service clubs, which I think is really important. I worry a lot that over the last several years, there's been a kind of a, why would I do that? I've got too many other things on my mind. But people, and you all know this, that invest back in their communities, invest back in the people that they are their neighbors. That's just a better way to be. So I know that, so I don't want to take too much more time, but I know my wife, Jenny, has her 100 initiative, and her whole mission has been, we're not going to create something new, what we're going to do is we're going to use the power of the office to try to figure out how to help raise fund, coordinate activity, and make sure that money gets out to where it needs to be, to the food pantries and the other organizations that are doing this. So I know she's come to Lions, and I know she's been very complimentary. And I think that's really what we'd like to do. We don't want to create something new. We want to try to figure out ways that we can help support the really good work that's being done elsewhere. So, all right. You want us right out there in front?
Yes, let's go right out in front. What we want to do now is recognize our century clubs. And if anyone from these clubs is here, come on up. We have a plaque for you. And International Director Diane also has a pin. I don't know where she went, but.
I'm right in front of you.
Oh, okay.
Something waves things. I have a pin for every club. I'm sorry, I don't have one for every member. South Carolina Lions also celebrate 100 years of service this year. We had 5 cities, 5 clubs in 1922, and this is our pin. So I'd like to give this little remembrance to the clubs that are turning 100.
Okay.
All right.
Legend.
That's all right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Not to worry.
Hey, you know how it works.
I do.
Just tell me. Okay, I know the first club we want to recognize is Cheyenne Lions Club. This is the oldest club in the state.
Bonnie's right there.
Bonnie, are you?
I'm here, yes.
There you
Thank
go.
you so much.
Thank you. And you're gonna stay up here.
Dean's taking pictures.
Okay, we're gonna get group pictures too.
It's a long line.
A long
Gotta
line.
get done.
Okay.
So.
Come on down here, baby.
Come on
I'll
down,
guide you
down,
to the end of the line.
There you go.
Congratulations. Did you want to shake hands with your governor?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Jeremy Lions Club, and you can read the
Oh.
date.
Okay. Now I gotta get my
See,
glasses out.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
This is fine. So, serving since 1920, this is presented to the Laramie Lions Club.
Anybody
I
Okay,
from Laramie Plains.
there you go.
Our club was started by that club in
Oh, really?
Laramie. We have 2 clubs, and so I'll represent them with thanks.
Very good. Thank you. And there's your plaque.
And Lee is our second vice district governor.
Oh,
This is
really?
for who?
Yes.
Wow.
From that Laramie Club.
Hey,
I have Rollins. I'm not sure anyone's here from Rollins.
and this is Rollins.
So Rollins serving since 1921.
No one from Rollins.
This one is the Sheridan Sundowners.
Ah,
Sheridan Sundowners. I know we probably have somebody from there.
well, it's been awfully windy up north today.
That's
so-
true.
So,
Oh, he's in a meeting, I know.
They're still back at
serving since 1921.
And it was foggy up that way too.
Oh,
Yes,
He can wrap it here.
he's in a meeting.
maybe that means rain. That could be a
I don't know
good
what
Hey.
it
I don't know if you know Jim Rapp. from
Yeah.
there. That's who he's, and he's in a meeting at Little America right now.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
Okay, we'll give him my
Okay,
best.
I will, Torrington.
This is
Oh.
Torrington.
All right.
Val, are you here?
She is.
Here she comes. Val Grant is the past district governor,
Oh, wow.
and she's from Torrington. And she's a real, very bright, neat lady.
I think you shot in the 2-shot on
I-
our farm.
Oh, I did,
But
okay.
I don't think you got to shoot a goose that year.
Not that either, but that's okay. Well, thank you. thank you for doing that as well.
Switch around between these two and hold it
Okay.
Okay.
around with it.
You
Yeah,
step
there
on
we
the
go.
dog.
Thank you.
And this is Wheatland.
Ah, Wheatland
1920.
from 1921.
Anyone from Wheatland?
Well, it's awfully windy there too.
Yes, that's okay.
They're probably in Nebraska.
Yeah, that could well be.
Exactly. Okay, and this is Casper, and I don't think there's anyone here from Casper since 1921.
Since 91.
Yep, actually 1922.
Oh,
Right.
sorry. See,
No,
that's
that's
my
okay.
illiteracy.
Oh, no, I'm very impressed.
That's COVID. We have from 2021 and 22 and this year. So-
Right.
Oh, I see,
Exactly,
okay.
because we didn't have the opportunity to do this.
Right.
Yes. This is Riverton, and that's 1922 also, and I know that. Is anyone from Riverton here? I know Brian
Signs in the eye bank.
Ballard, but he's in the I Bank.
Right.
We will make sure that people, the appropriate people get these plaques.
Wonderful.
And I want everybody to give 3 roars to all these century clubs.
Roar!
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 Roar! Thank you. And congratulations. And congratulations to every club. So impressive.
Well, great, congratulations.
And now Brianna Davidson is going to tell us what we need to do to enjoy the tours.
Probably. Diane, are you and Dick? Okay.
And I want to thank every one of y'all for joining us today, and thank you, sir.
Oh, you are welcome.
So much.
Absolutely, absolutely. My delight.
Come on.
Rihanna isn't here, so I get no copy.
Okay.
Well, you got the A team
I
anyway.
know, I know. So we're hoping that some of you are going to want to take the tour of your house. This is your house. We hope that you will want to take the tour. It'll take about an hour. How many have not been here since it's been remodeled? Oh, you're in for a treat. It's wonderful. Wonderful, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Oh, you're so much shorter. What are you wearing?
This is
No.
actually-
She's from the legislative service side
No,
of things.
I'm just a helper.
If this is actually our house, then why am I staying at the Little America?
I know. There are no
Oh, Ted, I'm
beds
gonna
here.
The-
find him. Find him.
You can't.
He's a tail twister.
I outrank you.
I didn't cause this to be, but I think there's only one shower in the whole place.
Perfect. And it's my shower. I love it.
That's all you need.
So if anybody wants to take a shower, we do have a budget deficit we need to make up.
How much do you charge for a shower?
We'll find out what the demand is.
Okay, gotcha.
Why is there a shower in here?
Somebody designed it in there.
Because they don't want the governor to be smelly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all washed up.
There you go.
So were you living in KC when the big flood came through
I was.
and the Lions came in and,
That's exactly right. I forgot that. Thank you for
yeah,
Yeah,
I was wondering. So, did you know Chris Ledoux?
I did.
Do you know, what's Jennifer's
Kristen,
family?
Jennifer
What's
Recolusa?
Recolusa?
Oh, I know Joyce Recolusa.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer, yeah.
Dwayne Christensen.
Dwayne
I do,
Christensen.
yeah. Funny story about Dwayne.
You want me to shut off the video here?
Dwayne's the veterinarian, and he was out at the ranch, and there was a young lady who had gone into labor, a big blizzard, and nobody could go to town. My wife and I were first responders, and so this would not be Jenny. This is my first wife who passed away, but we'd gone in to learn how to be first responders, and we're going to do our EMT thing and everything else. Dwayne was there. He's on the ambulance. Got the ambulance out there. Contractions every 5 minutes or so. And so Jenny, or not Jenny, Sally and I marched in with our books out. Dwayne was there with his arms that were like that big around, looking like Popeye. And Renee said, not happening tonight. So she waited till the morning.
That's great.
You still living in Casey?
Dwayne?
No, you. Are you
Yeah, we
is
still
that
have a ranch
home?
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get as much time to get up there as I'd like to.
Well, I'm sure, yeah.
You know, after 4 years, maybe I will just be able to do that. Yeah.
Well, it's nice you made improvements on the Oval Office, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm glad to show you all of that. Yeah.
So what would you tell us?
So how many of you are going on the tour? Yay, okay. So we do have elevators now on both sides. Dick and Diane Morrison are going to be your tour guides today. So we'll divide into two groups. You want to just self-divide? That would work for us. We could be together.
We're just talking with John here, and some I think may be able to walk or would like to walk okay. Others may prefer the elevator, so I was thinking maybe we break it up in two groups like that. The people that would like to walk and the others who may like to use the elevator. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
And if you come by the office, I'll be there. So,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
all right.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir.